Hey, I'm Leona Nicole Black, and it's a pleasure to be here with you for your monthly zodiac reading. Just a couple of things I wanted to make you aware of before we get into the message. Firstly, that I'm doing daily tarot stories, so you can follow that here on my YouTube channel or over on my Instagram page, Leona Nicole Black. The full script of the story is also posted on my website, nicoleblack.com/daily tarot story, and I pull the cards and allow them to inspire a piece of creative writing that expresses a message for not necessarily that day because it's a much longer energy, but really just allowing myself to show up daily and be that oracle. That's the purpose of it. So the message isn't about Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. It's more so that this is on a daily basis. This is my spiritual practice around allowing myself to bring a message through for you. So listen to it whenever you can, whenever it's feeling, that you feel called to it and it resonates. Secondly, for those of you who are interested in beginning tarot reading or for yourselves or have been reading for a short while, I did an amazing webinar. Thank you to everyone who came to it on August the 12th. And the playback of that content, that material is now available on my website. It's called Intuitive Paths to Freedom, Finding Your Feet with Tarot. And you can find out all about what's included in that course on my website, nicoleblack.com/courses. The links will be in the description box. It's an hour and a half of tarot tuition and it's only £22. So if you're interested in developing your practice and getting to know tarot cards, then I suggest you have a look at that. Thank you so much for supporting me and my work and embarking on that learning journey with me. Hey Virgo, happy birthday, happy Virgo season. Obviously I'm starting with you, being a Virgo myself, plus it's our season and I'm just in love with us at the moment. So I have pulled your cards. My oh my, I was hoping to keep the reading not necessarily short, but at least not pull loads and loads of cards. I didn't achieve that, so we've got quite a few cards to work through. You know the spread that I'm normally working with, it's the one that Spirit gifted to me. So we're looking at how you're showing up this month. We're looking at the context for that. We're looking at your spiritual lessons, the advice for you based on your spiritual lessons. And I've also pulled some specific cards because we're entering a Venus retrograde, I believe, on the 9th of September. That will go on for weeks. And then I just want us to be aware of what this retrograde, we've had so many retrogrades. The retrograde season has come through heavy. But Venus retrograde has its own specific focus and message. And so I pulled some cards to help us as the Virgo archetype understand what we need to. And this is for Virgo sun, moon, and rising. Okay, good. So I'm going to be honest. The first card I pulled, you got two cards in the position of what are you expressing this month? What's your character? How are you showing up? And I saw the Devil card and I was like, oh, man. I was not surprised to see it, but I didn't want to see it. And given that this is our time, and I'm feeling very positive. The sun is shining on us right now. I wasn't excited about seeing this, but here it is. Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you. The first thing I noticed in this instance of reading this card as I'm looking at it in the camera is the phallic nature of this Devil card. This hair being like two testes and the shaft of the penis hair. For some of you, the significance of this month and how you are showing up in your life is actually around your sexual energy. Now I feel that it could be that Spirit has been trying to get you clear on what sex is to you. Yes, I already know this to be true. Okay. Spirit is trying to get you to understand what sex is to you, not just like who you like or who you desire and or how you like it and what positions you like, but really what that means to you on an emotional level, what sex means to you on a philosophical level, what it means to you spiritually, what messages, what learned beliefs do you have about sex, what do you think is happening when you engage, how and why do you engage. And you're needing to learn that because I've always said this and we know this spiritually, that the sex energy is no different from any other creative energy. It's the same source. So understanding your approach to sex and what sex means to you, particularly emotionally, Virgo, like what belief systems you've attached to it. Does sex mean love to you? Does sex mean stress relief to you? Does sex mean pleasure? Are you dominant in sex? Are you passive in sex? Like understanding your whole approach to this merging, your whole approach to this spiritual passage, the spiritual doorway is important because it reflects all the other creative practices and processes you do. Every single one is derived from the same energy that you're expressing in your sex energy. So here comes the devil to say, see it, but the devil also is the shadow for us right now. Now look, I would prefer to dance in the sun, I'm going to be honest, but we are the hermit archetype. Interestingly, the hermit didn't show up in your reading, okay? We are the hermit archetype, and the hermit exists and navigates and moves through the darkness, and this is the shadow. The core element in which you are showing up this particular month, this season, your Virgo season, is in your shadow. That's how you're showing up. How can I put that more clearly? I was going to say in your vices, but I don't know if that's fair. It's really that it's in the parts of you that you would rather tuck away, the parts of you that you would rather tame and curtail, the parts of you that, you know, the judgment, the criticism that you would keep to the back, the parts of you that are trapped in loops. This is what's on display. Now, it might not be on display to people around you, but this is your character, how you're showing up. So you are functioning through your shadow. That means you're thinking from your shadow nature and you're creating from your shadow nature. And you have the Ace of Discs here. So you are thinking about new beginnings here, Virgo, but the new beginnings that I feel like you want to seize some new beginnings. Now, the Ace of Discs, as it's an ace card, this can be an offer. So this can be an external energy, opportunities, new experiences manifested from the spiritual realm into the physical. So that means that things have gone beyond ideas, beyond conceptions, beyond hopes and wishes and dreams, with the Ace of Pentacles to actual physical manifestation, to it being present in your life. And this is how you're showing up. But it's interesting because if you're the shadow card here as the devil and the Ace of Discs, it means that what is new and what you're creating in your life this month is actually the fruit of your shadow, and this is not good. Virgo, I wish I could say something different, man. Like, I do. I'm a Virgo, I want a different message, but I have to give the message that Spirit's giving. You're creating from your shadow. The new beginnings, whatever you're beginning, whatever you are seeding, is from your shadow. So I asked what's the context for that. So let's get an understanding of that message, a deeper understanding. You know, the other thing I should say as well here is that the devil card also for me in this context is the last fight or the final frontier, the last boss in this game of life. And not that you're going to die, you'll die many times in this lifetime, to be honest, but it's that it is asking you, it's like this card particularly, because this is the myth of Pan in this card, it is squaring off with you. This is what this energy is about. It's that the devil is showing up in the gateway, in the doorway for you, and is saying, like, you will not pass go, basically. Like, this here must be defeated, and without this you can't cross through the threshold. And so the context card therefore is the completion card here, Four of Wands, and this is Venus in Aries. This here, this really, the Venus and Aries idea here, the concept is that the completion that you're seeking is not an external completion. It's not necessarily the completion of a project, a goal, a wish, or an ambition. The completion here is of yourself. It's completing the project, me. That's what it is. It's about completing the point you are in your cycle of growth. And you haven't been able to. This is why the devil has shown up again. It's revealed itself to you, in you. It's revealed. The devil that you're experiencing in your life is a mirror. It is showing you where it is inside you. And it is saying you will continue to create your devil in your life if you don't complete this level, this lesson. Part of the devil energy for you, Virgo, is the Seven of Swords, futility, moon in Aquarius. This card is about losing faith and losing hope. Knowing that Aquarius represents the energy of the future, the progressive energy, the forward projection. The moon being the emotional impulse, wish, desire, where our needs to get met. You feel as though the means getting your needs met is delayed, or it is always put off into the future. That everywhere you find yourself in, every place, every new level you get to, every new experience you're having, the satiety, which is your next cup, Ten of Cups here, the satisfaction, the fulfillment, the contentment, the joy that you're seeking is always put off. And you've begun to feel like it is futile to even desire it. And this now is the entrapment of the devil that you create from a lack of hope, and you create from an energy of limitation and despair, even if you don't name it. Because Virgo's nature is to take the emotional disruption and channel that into work, to create. And I think it's interesting because I've been speaking to other people in Virgo season who are not Virgos but are taking that approach, trying to learn to transmute emotion through a creative project. But that is the Virgo energy. That's why this will be on the minds of people, because we're all living, the sun is in Virgo, we're all living through the spotlight, through the amplified energy of Virgo at the moment. So this is the problem here. Whether or not you're admitting to your despair, your depression, whether or not you're admitting to your deep dissatisfaction, whether or not you're admitting to the wheel of your life looping and looping and looping and looping and looping, it's happening. And whether you're saying it or you're putting yourself into work and you're seeming successful and you're moving forward, that energy is duplicating itself even through your creative efforts and anything that you're establishing right now. And so the advice for you here, Virgo, is the Change card, Two of Pentacles, Jupiter in Capricorn. There are structures that exist for you now. There are structures, there are patterns, there are things that have been established, and they've been established for you, Virgo, through habitual patterns. Okay, this is Capricorn energy. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is the Lord Karma, or the lesson maker here. Saturn is teaching you something. You have continued to, I have to say it, you failed the test repeatedly, and your lack of understanding has ingrained itself every time you've gone through something. It could be things really, Virgo, I feel like for you, it might not even be small periods of time. It might not even be like week to week or month to month. What it can be is the same situation, this 8th loop cycle here, revisiting you in stages. So it could be something that happened to you in 2002, and then in 2010, and then in 2017, like constantly repeating an energy, an experience, a dynamic, a situation. And that can play out for a while. It doesn't have to be, like I said, it's not just short interchanges. It's like, these are deep spiritual, deep ingrained practices. This can be meeting the same energy, the same person in multiple relationships. This can be having the same outcome in your career, for example, always being let go, always being overlooked, like whatever it is, like just this thing coming back to you. And the more that you repeat the cycle, is the more confused you've become, the further away you've come from your personal power. And there is no change, to be honest. It's just looping. And what's being called for now, because this is the Change card, and you see the snake eating its tail here, what's being called for now, Virgo, is actually the transformation. It's the transformation energy, and it has to happen. This is actually Scorpio. The snake here is Scorpio, and we already have Scorpio energy in terms of the shadow that you're living through. You need to take the shadow that you're experiencing. This is the darkness, the lack of understanding, also your pain. And you need to allow it to change you. Now, the card that comes after Change here is Ruin. And this is in many ways why you're repeating the cycle, because the Ruin card here is the 10 of Swords. In this deck, it is Moon, Sun, and Moon in Gemini. Gemini as a twins is what I'm seeing here is that it's a mirror, as in what happens is smoke and mirrors, really. That's what happens as you move through, as you navigate your life, as you're trying to understand your truths, your life lessons, as you're trying to move your life forward, as you're trying to get your needs met, as you're trying to establish this satisfaction. You're coming up against smoke and mirrors, okay? You're not seeing things accurately and clearly, and it ends in ruin. Now the ruin here, this is a swords card. Like I said before, the ruin comes from a misinformation and lack of understanding, not of the practical level of things. So you might understand for the person that this person doesn't love me. You might understand that you were wounded by a certain thing that was done by your mother or your father. You might understand that you're in a career environment that is or is not good for you. You might understand things on this material plane, but what you don't have an understanding of is the seed of that in the spiritual. You don't have an understanding of why you are experiencing certain things on a spiritual level, and this leads to your ruin. This is your gate of no return. This means that as you attempt to move through this cycle without the transformation, you get burnt up here in the ruin card, and your heart, as we see pierced in the middle here, becomes broken. And every time the 10 is a completion, right? So every time you get to this end and break and have to come back to the beginning, you're looping. Not only does it entrench you in your darkness and expand your shadow, but what you're missing out on is the very thing you want. 3 of Cups here, abundance, and this is Mercury in Cancer. Mercury is the archetype of Elegua, the Orisha. And Elegua moves between realms, between the physical and the non-physical realm, between us as material and deity and divine, okay? So Mercury in Cancer here, abundance, is about being able to have the spiritual unseen communication of love, abundance, that emotional satisfaction, moving from that realm into the physical realm. And it's there and it flows freely and it's possible, but you miss it every time. So what's your spiritual lessons then? What is it that you're not understanding? Well, you've got the sun and the moon together, one after the other, both of them. What you're not understanding, and this is a typical of the Virgo nature, what you're not getting, Virgo, is that you tend to be too black and white about things. It's either or. It's either you're in your light or you're in your shadow. Just like me approaching this reading, it's Virgo season and I didn't want to see the devil card, and yet we need to integrate both. We need to understand that the two things are happening in tandem. Now your lesson from the sun card here is hopefulness, to be honest. Seeds of hope. Also figuring out where your energy is derived from, Virgo. Because what I feel for you is it's the sun. What there's an archetype, there's a myth about a creature of some kind that eats the sun. What I feel is that the sun is what stimulates the rebirthing. The change card here and the snake is actually the energy of the death, of endings, of stripping away, of one thing transforming. Now remember, energy can't be destroyed, it can only be transformed. And so wherever you are in the condition of your life now, if you go through a death process, a stripping away, an ending, it is always going to give life to something else. And what feeds all life is the sun. But you don't know where your sun is or what your sun is. You don't know what feeds your spirit. You don't know what sources you. You are solar powered and you don't know where to find that energy. So every time you come to this place of death, you meet your ruin. Something doesn't happen, it breaks down. And rather than changing form into the thing that can move forward, you go back to ground zero and try to build up again. So you need to locate your source, your energy. So for some of you, this is a spiritual message. This is saying that you need to understand what drives you spiritually. You need to understand your purpose, a better understanding of what you're here to do and what you should be filling your life with and what you should be motivated by. And it's things like this. It's like being willing and able to create abundance and to make money without being motivated by money, because it's two different things. I'm not saying that you shouldn't want money. Money is a part of the resource you need to create this energy or to express this energy externally. But it's about making choices and decisions that aren't chasing the money itself, because it's an energy, it's a resource, okay? So it's understanding that your light and your sun is not the pursuit of a lifestyle or a thing, okay? It's not that. So on a spiritual level, it's understanding for what purpose was my physical vessel, this animal, animated? For what purpose does my spirit come down from whatever realm it was from into this physical form? What did it come here to do? And that is the thing that powers you. That's the motivator on one level. But two, because you have come down spiritually into physical form, that means you belong to something and somewhere else. And that is also where your sun lies. So who do you belong to on a spiritual level? Who are your ancestors? Which deities and spirits are associated, attached, invested in you, that shine their light on you, that give power to you, that gift you the breath you breathe every day, that we just take for granted, that we just breathing willy-nilly as though this breath, this gift of breath has not been granted. You are being gifted protection, movement through the world. Know from whom. And allow that to be the source of your inspiration and your hope. Your hope can't really be in the thing that you think this is. Not in the job or the relationship or the baby or the whatever it is. The place you want to go to, the friendship groups you want. That can't be the thing that animates your hope, because every time you get to a point where you can't have it, you will cycle into despair. Your hope has to be animated by your purpose, and knowing that if you've been given a purpose or one that you're willing to commit to, they will support you and open the doors to get through it. So you have every reason to be hopeful. Your hope is based in something real. I've got to be honest, as I do this reading, I'm very, very aware of myself as the observer and the spirit that is speaking through me. So that's the sun. Then you've got the moon card here, and it is saying that in the midst of your hope exists the shadow and the absence, the darkness. But I said this in one of my daily tarot stories. I think it was the tarot story for Wednesday, 4th of September. That the darkness is the same thing that the wombs are made out of. The moon here being the cosmic womb. Don't fear the moon, don't fear the darkness, and don't fear your personal shadow. I haven't said any of what I've said in order to make you disassociate with yourself or judge yourself or feel that you are bad, wrong, or not enough. So much of this experience we're living through is shadow. You made a conscious choice, i.e. the Hanged Man card, to come down from spirit into flesh, to embody the shadow element. You made that choice. It's part of why you're here. So the moon energy here is saying don't discard your shadow, don't deny your shadow, but understand the function of it. The function of the moon here is actually the gateway, it's the doorway. This moon is here is where immaterial becomes material. Like I said, it's the womb. It's from the space of nothing into something. That's how all creativity happens in the dark, okay? And so you have to give in to your personal moon energy. And part of that for you, because we had the devil card, which is how you're showing up, is understanding your innate drives and motivations, understanding your inner cycles, Virgo. What are you pushed by? On a basic level, you're pushed by sex and food and shelter, right? All those things. Understand what is driving you on an emotional level to make the choices and decisions and how you're moving through the world. Understand that. That's the moon card. That's what's in the shadow. That is what is pushing you. The light is what we see. The sun is what we see, but it begins here. So you have to know what's inside you and what do you want. Even if it's not good for you, you need to be aware that you desire it. The sun and moon have to exist together, and the sun here really is expressing every articulation of human experience. Okay, so the sun is your orbit, it's the revolution, right? And I mean, like, in the way that the sun revolves circular. The sun is all experiences in one. And this is what is open to you. This is the potential of a thing. The sun is saying here for you that all experiences are open to you, but only through the passage of the moon, which is your own darkness and your personal death. I think it's Anubis that's pictured here, representing that. The death here also is your willingness to surrender the thing you want most. The thing you want the absolute most. It's your willingness to surrender it according to what you observe as your highest purpose and your highest calling. And this is why you need the illumination of the sun, because the thing is, your highest purpose and your highest calling, as demonstrated by the sun here, involves and incorporates all things, including the thing you want. But the path to the thing that you want hasn't included the sun. This is the problem. You need both. Now, it's a careful and treacherous line to walk. It's a difficult path to navigate. I personally think, I've always said that I think Scorpio and Capricorn have the most difficult energy to navigate for a lifetime, with their rulers of Pluto and Saturn. But really, well, that's interesting, because as a spiritual reader, I really like who associates Saturn with the Hermit, the Virgo archetype. And I was going to say that the Virgo path is very hard. It's very difficult. It's laid with sacrifice. And so as you walk this dark, narrow path with potential threat and a requirement of death and endings and stripping away and releasing and desiring and releasing and desiring and surrendering your desires, you have the Prudence card here as your other spiritual lesson, which is don't throw yourself into the fray. Don't throw yourself onto the fire because someone said you have to die. Like, yes, you have to die, but it's not a discarding of yourself. It's not a self-sacrifice. It's not a form of self-harm, for example. So it's not like, well, I can't have this situation that I want. I can't have this love relationship that I want, so I'm just going to fuck everybody that I can. It's not that. It's not, I can't have this job that I want, so I'm just going to squander the finances that I have right now. It's not that. It's not, oh, I can't have this thing, so I just let everything go. It's not that at all. Actually, it's the blossoming of the flower, the Prudence card here. The opening of the flower bud. There's one here that hasn't opened yet. That being its own form of transformation, and it speaks to the delicacy that you are in this state of opening and blossoming. Because remember, that's the change you're going through here. That as you go through your transformation, it is not just to die and recycle. You're not a recycling unit. You are to die and transform as the seed transforms into all of this. And so the Prudent Sun in Virgo, which is the energy we're in right now, Well, the prudence word alone is asking you to be careful as you navigate the shadow and the darkness. Be careful not to feed it, for example. As you become aware, for example, of what's driving your shadow and what's animating the shadow, so it could, I keep saying for example, so it could be, you know, like I said, because sex is a big theme for you right now. It could be you recognize, you wake up to your sexual needs and your sexual appetites, and that sex is transformational to you, and whatever else, whatever revelations come up from that. The prudence card is therefore, be gentle with yourself and aware of your budding nature about how you get that need met. It isn't purely that you understand what it is so you get it, you have it in any way. It's about saying, how can I give myself, sun in Virgo, how can I give myself the source energy, the light, the nurturing that I need without damaging my growth process, without amplifying my personal darkness and my pain and my shadow, which is derived of all the things that are negated in me at the moment, the things that I can't access well. The absence of things, the main card here. Be gentle with yourself. Be wise, be prudent. And be prepared to shine. Be prepared with all hopefulness to receive that abundance, to generate, to create that abundance, Virgo. Be prepared for that unraveling, that unfurling, that unwrapping. And be prepared to plant that and to seed that transformation for yourself and for others. And that also, with the sun in Virgo, that is also the hopefulness and the optimism that is required. That you go without, or you say no, or you say yes even, but you say what's needed. You make the choices and you navigate your shadow, knowing with faith and confidence that you will get the blossoming. That's where, with the futility card, that's where you've been lacking. You haven't believed that. You believed your hopes will be eternally deferred. There's a biblical scripture that says a hope deferred makes the heart sick. That's the condition you've been in, Virgo. So what's that? I mean, I took a lot of time to go over that, but those were your spiritual lessons. What's the practical advice? What movement can you take? Build and establish yourself this month. See the bigger picture, see the bigger vision. I'm going to Ten of Pentacles. This is the wealth card. What I like about this is that, you know, I like wealth as opposed to being rich, right? The wealth here is about sustainability. It's about having enough, having more than enough for generations and generations and generations. And it's about feeding more than yourself here. And this is what I'm saying to you about grasping your purpose. Find out the vision, the big picture, Virgo, that incorporates not just what you want, but what Spirit wants to do with you. This month is the time to start tapping into that energy, to understand what the end game is, to understand what the big picture is, to understand what you're needing to establish. Interesting. I never knew that this was Mercury in Virgo. What will your life communicate? What legacy will you leave here? I like that. You've also got the Queen of Discs here, which is the Virgo card again. So your energy is coming up in this reading, not through the Hermit, interestingly. Mainly because actually the Hermit is there to bring illumination to the darkness. And as you've shown up in the Devil card here, it says that the illumination has already happened. As in you can see now your shadow. So the Queen of Discs here is about looking back, okay? It's about getting to this space of prudence, of self-care. Self-care here being understanding the temperature you need, right? Understanding the conditions that you need to be well. Getting to that point, as she's kind of sitting on her pineapple in this card, with the goat, I think it is, or a ram. getting to the point, Virgo, where you know, oh, these are the things that keep me functioning well. These are the things that I can create, the habits, the cycles I can make in my life that allow my flower to bud. Okay, if I at this point take this out of water, that bud will never open. You need to know what conditions make you blossom. Firstly, there's that message here. And as you do that, it's also about looking back on the desert of your life and having lived through conditions in which you couldn't blossom. It's about recognizing the choices and situations that you were put in, both voluntary and involuntary, whether it was you partnered with a certain person, you took a certain career path, you made a certain decision, versus you were born into a certain family, born into a racist society, like, you know, involuntary and voluntary. Understanding the conditions that have sapped you, that have been your personal desert, that have been the fire that have burnt you up and caused ruin. Looking back on that, and also recognizing your current safety, recognizing the fact that you have navigated through and out of that. But what survival habits and what patterns did you adopt, consume internally, so that now you're out of those situations? I mean, you're not really out of a racist society. I mean, you're not. But let's talk about, if to extend that metaphor, if we want to, it would be living in a racist society and then waking up to your self-worth and undoing white supremacy and that pervasive sense of consciousness. Okay, that would be this card in that context. So we're saying here, recognize what that environment, the flames of that environment, the crushingness of that environment taught you, that you have to purge in your shadow now. And the last card here as your practical advice for the month, Queen of Swords, Libra. Also rules, I believe, this Queen of Swords rules the last deacon of Virgo, I think, too. Queen of Swords here, speaking to cutting away illusions, gaining mental clarity, the thing you've been lacking, through self-honesty, authenticity, refusal to lie, refusal to deny. See how she holds a mask here. Elevating your perspectives, but not just in terms of like just thinking differently, but perceiving differently, really, here. New perception, and that new perception is gifted to you through your connection to the spirit realm, which you have to develop. So I'm going to share with you your Venus retrograde messages now, because they connect actually to this advice. So I use the New Orleans Voodoo Tarot for these cards. I'll show you the cards and I'm just going to talk about the message very generally. I'm not going to go into the individual cards. Not everybody will be able to understand the meanings here, so I'm just going to talk about what they are. There's a death happening. This energy here is the energy of death. There's an ending called for. There's a destruction that must happen. There's a release of what has not worked. It's about what is not working, what no longer wants to be animated in your life, what wants to be purged away. And there is a creative process here. Yamaya. You can see here, it's actually the repeat of these two energies, your Venus retrograde message. And she's pregnant in this card, and it's speaking to what you are creating, what you are birthing, what you are making, practically, emotionally, spiritually, what is being constantly animated into the world via you. And the last card here is actually the Death card in the Major Arcana. But the message here is that the transformation that you are needing has to be assisted by what is not incarnate, right? So what is by the spirit realm, that there are spiritual beings, ancestors, angels that have wisdom to give you that you've not accessed yet and that you need. And the Venus retrograde period, Virgo, is going to usher you into your shadow sharply. Because for a lot of you, what you're seeking is more love. Whether that's in the context of a relationship or just to feel loved in your life. I was just talking to another Virgo about the fact that I have a tradition for my birthday where I always take myself to dinner alone. I spend the day alone and take myself to dinner. Maybe I'll have a massage. Like, I love on myself for my birthday, because when I started doing this, is because I felt a repeated pattern of feeling disappointed about not feeling loved enough around my birthday, not feeling given to by people. And my response to that was like, you know what? Love yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's the standard Virgo attitude. I'll do it myself. So I was like, I'll do it myself. So I set that all up for myself. And when I said this to her, she was like, yes, that feeling of not being loved enough. So Virgo, you can experience that lack of emotional satisfaction, feeling like people don't do as much as you do, don't go as far as you do, aren't as loyal as you are. Like, just don't see the needs in the way that you do. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could just feel like you give a lot and you don't really get that back. So you may be experiencing a lack of love here. And the wisdom that you need to transmute that into a situation that is beneficial for you, and so that you can get your emotional needs met specifically, but all your needs, is that you need to address your shadow right now, address what has to be released, and seek wisdom and understanding. So there's two ways to do that. For some of you, it will be literally through ancestor worship or connecting to the orishas, or, you know, any spiritual ritual practice that resonates for you culturally. And for others of you, it's actually seeking out a spiritual advisor. You need someone. If you are not able to develop ancestral practice in the way that is powerful for you, maybe some of you, I know a lot of my readers are post-Christian, I call it, like you come from a Christian background, you may be entirely unready, emotionally unable to even begin thinking about communing with the dead. Okay, that's okay, that's where you are, that's fine, accept that as part of your shadow. I was there too. In that case, you need to seek out a spiritual person who can do that for you. Now, I'm not saying literally find a medium who's going to say, you know, I'm making a phone call to this dead person. And I mean, that was a little derisive, but I don't mean it to be, because we can communicate with the unseen realm. But I don't want you to be exploited, is what I'm trying to say, by just running to any person who can tell you that they can see your dead pet. Shade, I can't help it. But to seek someone who has a channel open to the spirit realm that you trust, okay? You know, I said on my Instagram page that I'm not just like I'm not, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not just the basic YouTube reader. I'm not. That's not my purpose. It's not just to be here and to shuffle cards and to tell your soulmate's coming. Like, that's not what I'm here to do. I am here to usher in spiritual wisdom in a practical way to help you transform your life. That's it. And I have to just see where we are in our growth cycle. So someone like me is what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be me, but you can find someone that you can trust, who can navigate those spiritual lessons, or who can open up that connection. Whenever I work with my clients one-on-one, I open with prayer. And the first thing, during the prayer, one of the things that I say is that I'm opening up the space and I'm asking permission from that person's ancestors to be able to bless them. So find someone. If you can't do this work for yourselves, find someone who can give you the medicine that you need. Because if you don't, you will continue to repeat this cycle over and over and over again, not moving forward and going without. And I don't want you to do that, Virgo. You know, Venus retrograde, Venus itself is actually about what you value. So it's love and money, because these are both where we measure and place value. And I have the sense, Virgo, that what you value has entrapped you, it has put you into a cycle of entrapment. So this Venus retrograde is the time, it's the season here to heal that. by getting the wisdom that you need to be freed by this thing, because otherwise, like I said to you before, you will birth from your shadow. You will create from your shadow. You are the mother archetype in the zodiac, you and Cancer. You are nurturing something, womb. What you're nurturing may be a devil. I don't mean that as in pitchfork devil. I mean a thing that steals from you, steals your life force. Okay, Virgo, we're going to leave it there. If you'd like a personal reading with me, NicoleBlack.com/services. Thank you for being with me with this reading. I pray it's been a blessing to you. I pray it's empowering for you. I pray you have a wonderful Virgo season, and as you enter into this new solar return, that the next year unfolds for you in beautiful ways, and that you get your emotional needs met and experience the abundance you were always intended to. I love you. Mwah.